You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So this show, this show is really a tribute to a mentor of mine that recently passed away, Mr. Nelson Nash, the author of Becoming Your Own Banker, Unlocking the Infinite Banking Concept. So I'm sitting here at my autograph book from that I received in 2011 that I've worn out so much that I had to get it laminated, and I added extra pages. So it's like a journal for my notes. And so most of you know that, what our primary core strategy, if you look at the green tank, if you look at our website, the personal economic model is teaching people how to look, what I want you to do is look at the banking system and understand how they operate. And what you want to ask yourself is, hey, success leaves clues. How can I begin to operate my personal economy with a similar philosophy, which is really all about? And so I've learned that from this book, and I didn't get it. If you heard, last week's show, I was steeped in, buy term investor difference. And so this strategy is based on, don't hang up on the podcast, right? Don't shut it off, but on specially designed, emphasis, dividend paying whole life insurance with a mutual company. Okay, so those are four. But it's really not about the insurance. Problem is most people focus, and the industry has focused, and I'm quoting from the book, unfortunately, the industry has concentrated on the death benefit qualities of the whole life contract and has neglected to adequately describe the financing capabilities that it presents for policy owners. So the book demonstrates that your need for finance during your lifetime is much greater than your need for protection. The whole idea of the book is to recapture interest one is paying to banks and finance companies for major items that we need during our lifetime, such as automobiles, major appliances, education, homes, investment opportunities, business equipment. So the book is not about investments of any kind. It's about how one finances things of life, which can include investments. It's not about rate of return. But it's a process. See, the banking process is going on regardless, either you're renting it or you own it. Most people have been taught by the industry to rent the banking process, but you need to, learn how to own it. So, and one of the things it says in the book is like on page 3 is no such thing as having too much money in the bank. Your wealth must reside somewhere. So it goes back to what is money? Money is a medium of exchange. So then once you clarify, see, money is not wealth. Money is a means to wealth. But the question is, where are you storing your means of exchange? All right. So what I wanted to review today and just, tributing Nelson, because let me tell you, he's reading the book and then going through the bibliography of the book has, changed my career of the way I approached money, the way I approached the financial industry, as you go through the bibliography, you're a changed person. If you will actually study this book, it's irrefutable. It's not, well, I don't know. It's not an opinion. It's like gravity. You jump off a building, you're going to fall. And so, I've through this, and what I've been trying to share with people is to really, get a grip on how does the world work. Well, I've studied, Austrian economics. So, from him, I discovered The Law by Frederick Bastiat. I'll try to put these in the show notes, Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt, fee.org, Mises.org, Mises Institute, Ludwig von Mises. And, getting into that stuff, if you work your way through the bibliography, guys, you are just, I'm literally Morpheus giving you the red pill because you'll understand the truth. And so you will, you just be a changed person, because one of the things Nelson said to me, he said, listen, if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. And his thing was that, listen, we've given, the banking should be done at the you and me level, at the grassroots level. When you get paid, it's going into somebody's bank. He tells me, why not yours? Right. And so what we've done, he says, is basically given our life, our control over our money over to, as he would say, fools. And so you say you got to get out the world. You can't do what the world does, but you have to be willing to learn. You've got to be willing to change your thought process. One of the reasons that I make the book required reading before we'll work with somebody, because you have to, when I talk about, becoming, economic, going from childhood to adulthood, you have to be willing to learn and open your mind up to a different way of thinking, because everybody, most of the people are not going to know what you're talking about. I have people say, well, I'm going to talk to my accountant, or I'm going to talk to my, financial advisor, or I'm going to talk to my stockbroker, whatever. They don't know nothing about this stuff. I mean, or I talk to my current agent. Well, if your current agent knew about it, you would already know about it, because people that do this, they don't do nothing else. You would get booked. They'll beat you over the head with books. You got to read this. You got to do this. You got to watch this, read this. Otherwise, because, banking is a process. You have to understand the process of banking. Only then we'll show you the platform that we use to help you facilitate that process, to help you live your best life, to help you transform yourself from, out of my other favorite book, Money for Life, from the debt paradigm where you're taught to get money, get what you need and want, basically earn it, go into debt to buy the things that you want, earn, borrow, spend, repay, save a little bit so you can spend it later. That's the debt paradigm. And you're trapped on a hamster wheel of frustration, but if you start to learn this process, we want to help you basically move towards the 4 pillars of a strong personal economy: freedom from debt to others, ready cash, liquidity when you need it, passive income you don't have to work for, and a legacy of wealth and wisdom. So if you can begin to move in that direction without changing your spending habits, without doing anything different, well, you're going to do something different, but it's not going to cost you any more money, but you can begin to work towards knocking down those 4 pillars. Is that the type of conversation that you like to have? Okay. See, ask yourself that. What is your plan working right now? Okay. Or are you just hoping the stock market goes up? Last time I checked, as I always say, hope is not a good strategy. So think about this. So these are I don't know if I'm going to get through all of these today. I might break these down, but I want to talk about some things I learned in my journal from Nelson's 25 IBC truths. One of the things he talks about is don't be afraid to think long term. This is number one. He was raised as a forester, so he thought in 100-year time blocks. The reason we use mutual companies, because mutual companies don't have to adhere to quarterly performance of some shareholders, so they are thinking is on the same page. So you've got to think long term. One of the things Nelson says was that, if I can find this page, he says you want to plan as if you're going to live forever and live as if you're going to die today. And he passed away, he had just turned 88, and I was fortunate because I was at the Infinite Banking think tank, which is a gathering of advisors that teach this. And I happened to be sitting right behind us. We got the chance to chat a little bit, and it was just a great guy. And I've been through his 10-hour workshop twice. Anytime he was anywhere within like a 4-hour radius, I would get myself there. Okay. Every time I go, I learn something new. So when people say, oh, I read it, 6 months ago, or, what's on page 44? You got to know it like the back of your hand. I've got advisors. I'm trying to train on this, but most people don't want to work hard enough to get this stuff. And it's not really that hard. It's actually deceptively simple, but you've got to unlearn what you think you know. Okay. The second principle, I'll probably do like 10 of these this morning as I record this. Don't be afraid to capitalize. See, the capital stock of a bank is money. So if you're building a banking system, which just represents storage, where do you store your cash is what we ask people. Then you've got to capitalize your banking system, your business. Think of starting with another business. So you've got to get money in it so that you have banks don't loan out their money. They loan out the first, in order before they can make a loan, they've got to have a deposit. Well, so do you. Okay. So you can't be afraid to capitalize. You can't be afraid to put money in. If you put in $100 a month, okay, that's a start, but that's not going to get you anywhere because, you're not going to get any money anytime in the near future. You want to buy a car or something like that, you got to get some money in there, right? Your car costs $30,000. Guess what? You got to put $30,000 in the plan, okay? There's no magic. It's not a magic box. Okay, you got to save money. And so it's really a strategy. We want you to save at least 10 to 30% of your income or whatever affordable and comfortable. Okay, up through dividend paying whole life insurance with a mutual company. Just so we're clear. I know I'm running that in the hole. All right. He talks about don't steal the peas. So in the book, he talks about the grocery store. Whereas if you own and my family was in the grocery store business. So it's like, if you own a grocery store, would you shop at Acme? My family owned a grocery store. My mother did not shop at Acme. Okay. And, but she did steal the peas, being that now I didn't. So an example is really interesting to me because my mother would just go, nobody thought, my father actually got this, but what you going to say about my mother? She, you would go in and get a shopper cart and just fill up her stuff, bag it up and walk out. So she didn't pay for it. She just put it in the bag. But my father got this concept because we were in a tavern business and I didn't even get it then because I was running our bars. But he would, if he had a drink, he would go, to the our bartender and he would order whatever he's going to order. He'd pay for it retail out of his pocket and leave a tip. Okay. And you said, why would he do that? Is his store, he bought all the liquor wholesale. See, if you do that, you're stealing the peas, you're stealing your profit, you're buying it, but you're taking the groceries, and in the front door and out the back door. And so that's a euphemism for it. You've got to treat your money as if it has a cost. So people say, well, why would I pay interest on my own money? Well, A, it's not your money. Once you understand how it works, you're collateralizing your cash. But if you would borrow money and you would pay GMAC or Wells or whoever 6, 8, 10%, you pay 18% on a credit card. Well, why would you cheat yourself? Doesn't your money deserve the same amount of respect? See, this is where you gotta. I have people that just couldn't get that concept, or the concept that Nelson says you finance everything you buy, right? Because you either are using if you don't have any money, you got to use somebody else's money, and then you pay interest, which is the cost of using their money. But the other converse of that is that if you pay cash, this is so hard for people to get because they don't understand opportunity costs. That means that you finance it. So if you had $10,000 saved up, so let's say it took you, 3 years to save up $10,000, $15,000 in cash, and then you found something that you wanted and it needed, you needed $15,000. Boom. What did you just do? You just drained the tank. You spent your capital to go buy this thing, right? Well, if you want to keep your savings at $15,000, what do you have to do? Well, you've got to break it down, save another $400 or $500 a month over a few years and build your savings back up. But guess what? You find something else, you do it again. So for most people, saving is just delayed spending. Okay. And what you don't understand is that every time you take all the money out, you break up compounding and you start over every time. Most people spend their whole life doing that. And then when you get this advice from financial entertainers to pay cash for everything, well, guys, there's a cost to cash. You finance everything you buy. Okay. So if you're just not sure, you want kind of like a book report to go with the book, email me and I will send you one. We can have a discussion about it, and because what I do is we'll read the book and then we'll have a book discussion, what I call a book review, to make sure you got it, because I want to empower you to think. Our whole thing is about empowering people, and you've got to study it. I would have a study group where you study it and you practice it and you try it, you teach it. So if you want to get good at something, what do? You got to practice, study, and teach. Number 4 is don't do business with banks. Nelson, when the book came out in 2000, he had already retired, right? So he was doing it as a workshop, just showing people, what he had been doing, not some theory. He had been doing this, and then he wrote the book and started teaching the workshop. First, he tried to teach the home offices. They didn't get it. And he was trying to go through academia. They didn't get it. So he started teaching it directly to the consumer, not to financial people, to the consumer. The book is not a gimmick to sell insurance. It's not even designed for agents. It's designed for you to understand that you finance everything you buy, how money flows through your life, and how you can begin to recapture 35 cents of every dollar that you spend in the form of debt that's leaving you. So it's more That's when we always say there's more opportunity in minimizing the losses in your life than it is trying to pick winning investments. See, you're trying to get a higher rate of return on your savings or investments. You're giving away 35 cents out of every dollar you make in financing costs. Well, what if you could recapture that money? How far ahead of the game would you be? All right. So he says, don't do business with banks. So he hadn't done business with a bank from the time he passed away. Last time I talked to him, for at least 30 years, 25, 30 years. Okay. Other than a checking account, because you need a checking account to kind of do transactions, but he didn't store his cash in the fiat banking system. Okay. Because he understood the banking system is one of the ways that your money is stolen via fractional reserve banking, inflation, less than 1% returns, fees. And it's not safe. You deposit money in the bank, you become a creditor to the bank. Okay. Unsecured creditor. Think about that. All right. A lot of people don't understand that. So he says, don't do business with banks. He says, listen, give yourself as long to get out of debt as it took to get in. So a lot of people come to me, I want to get out of debt. I want to be debt free. It's like, okay, you really want to be financially free, not debt free. But one of the things I always tell people, you got to relax. We're going to put together a program, but you didn't get into it overnight. So you're not going to get out of it overnight. So you don't want to hurt yourself trying to get rid of it too quickly. What you need to do is create a system. Really, you want to put that system in place, and you want to focus on creating more value in the marketplace so you can generate new revenue, and that would allow you to save money and then accelerate the debt faster. But the first emphasis is always on paying yourself first. Number 6 is the majority has never been right about anything. And see, so if you find yourself on the majority, so just because everybody's doing it, that don't make it right. I heard somebody say, just because the dogs are barking at a tree, that don't mean it's the right tree. Okay. And that's what people do. They're like lemmings. I'm sure that I heard somebody do it. Most people are lemmings, right? And so don't be a lemming. You want to, you got to have your own mind. Okay. Which means you've got to do stuff. You've got to read stuff. Can you read 10 to 15 pages a day of good stuff? Can you watch a Jim Rohn video a morning? What are you doing to strengthen your knowledge, to strengthen your thinking? Do you have a journal? When you're reading stuff, are you taking notes, trying stuff, having discussions about it, and trying to teach somebody else? That is how you learn. Okay. And, understanding some basic truth. Number 8, banks want our money on a regular basis. Number 9, banks want to hold our money for long periods. Number 10, banks want to return our money to us in small increments, okay, over a long period of time. So that's how that works. Okay, so think about that, when you're looking at, what are your goals? And when you look at, and I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying you need to know how the system works and use it to advance your purpose. Most of us are taught to play the money game, but we're playing it so that it benefits everybody else but us, because you're playing with institutions that create the situations, control the outcomes so that they profit off of you not completely understanding the money game. So you've kind of got to, what I call, deconstruct your personal economy that's right now set up to work for everybody else, and you've got to construct it to work for you. So let's talk about the human factors. One of the things he talks about are the human problems. So the first part of the book is becoming your own banker. Part 2 is the human problems, the things that will cause it not to work. The first thing he talks about is Parkinson's law. Okay. And so Parkinson's law is a few laws by Northcliffe Parkinson. And one of those says that a luxury once enjoyed becomes a necessity. When I grew up, all cars didn't have power steering, or air conditioning. Those were options. Those were luxury items. And so now you can't think about having a car without that, without Bluetooth, without, and those were only in the top end cars. So luxury once enjoyed becomes a necessity. If you go and you're used to staying at, low end motels, and then you go to Marriott or Four Seasons, and I was like this with my wife. I just wanted a place to sleep, but she had traveled, we first got together, and had stayed at, better places. And now it's like, oh, I have to have a certain level of accommodation to be comfortable. I remember my middle daughter, who's going to France next week, which is exciting for her, and we're excited. What did happen? She was traveling somewhere. Her grandmother and says, "Well, Dad, this is only a 3-star hotel." She was like 11, and so she knew the ratings of the hotels. They're like, "Oh, this is a 4-star." Or what's the rating of the hotel? So it was less than 3 stars. They're not really excited about it. But now it's a necessity. So here's the other one. So part of one of the reasons I talk about cash flow management a lot, because you have to control. So if you don't control and create, a lifestyle ceiling, so as your income goes up, which brings me to Parkinson's other law. Next law is that expenses rise to meet income. So if you make more, people get a raise. Oh, great. So they got all this delayed gratification they want. So they go shopping, they go buy a new car, they go buy a bigger house. Guess what? Now you've got a higher level of expenses. You just at a higher level of broke, but you're still working to transfer your wealth away to people that create the situations, control the outcomes, so they profit. Because you hear this siren song, you can have wherever you want. You have the monthly payments, buy this, go here, spend your money on this, through TV, through different stuff. That's what, ever why they call it TV programming, okay? Because they're programming you to spend your money. Wall Street's programming. If you bowl the stuff you hear on Bubble Vision, and it's basically or any marketing you get from investment mutual companies, whatnot. It's all, I can boil down to one sentence: give your money to us. You're not smart enough. You don't have the time. You don't have the commitment to personally handle your own investments. One, they think investments is the stock market. That's just one type of vehicle in an asset class called paper. So remember, there's 4 asset classes: business, real estate, paper, and commodities. Those are the 4 asset classes, right? And so here's the third Parkinson's law: work expands to fill the time allowed. So you could have a paper due in 2 weeks. Are you going to work on it that night? No. You got 2 weeks. It's like, I'll wait. And then the second week you start thinking about it, and then you're still cramming the night before trying to finish it. Even though, you go to college, you got a whole semester, you get the syllabus, you're supposed to get done, but you don't even think about it till later. That's Parkinson's law. If you think about when you go on vacation, all the stuff that you get done because you have this deadline, if you learn to organize yourself that way, would you be better off? Okay. Here is another rule: use it or lose it. You got to think about it. You got to use it. Here's the golden rule he talks about: those who have the goals make the rules. And the last one I'm going to talk about today is a concept called economic value added, EVA. You have in a book he talks about, and a lot of business owners forgot about it, but it's one of the things they learn to do is that, they treat their money as if it has a capital. So if they use their retained earnings to build a factory, they knew if Coca-Cola found this out. This is in the early 90s. They'd forgotten this basic economic principle as you have to pay yourself back for the use of your own capital. That's what we mean by don't steal the peas. You have to treat your money as if it has a cost, and you have to pay yourself back. So think of an empty folded coffee can. You had $1,000 in there, so you pulled it out to go buy something. So now your can is empty. So, but you pay yourself back and you put in $100 a month. Well, at the end of 12 months, you'll have $1,200. So you'll have all your money back, but you also paid yourself an additional $200 for the use of your money. That's really all we're talking about, okay? I'm just giving you a better place to store it than an empty can. It's a coffee can, but it's basically the same concept. Guys, that's what I want to share with you. I want to attribute, just some of the wisdom, so simplistic wisdom of our Nelson Nash. Do yourself a favor, get the book, email me if you'd like a kind of a study guide to the book. Let's talk about it. Let me tell you, even if doesn't matter what you invest in, you do real estate, you're in business, we're having our business summit tomorrow as I record this. And when you make money, if that money has to end up somewhere, it's going into somebody's bank. And so how much of that banking system is it that you'd like to control? All right. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So I just wanted to again do a tribute to R. Nelson Nash, because that, just the stuff, the economics, the thought process has really made a serious impact on my life. And what I've been trying to do is just get this message out because it's so powerful. And we really think we have a cure for financial cancer, which is learning how to knowing where the problem lies, and then knowing how to address the problem, how to fix it. So if you ever want to know about that, check out the intro video on our website so you can understand the Practical Wealth Money for Life process. And if you care to, you can schedule a 15, 20 minutes to talk about it. And I'd love to answer your questions. Have a great day, everybody. To your prosperity.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.